What's going on, YouTube? It's Off the Schneid coming back for another episode, another UFC prediction show. We had UFC Fight Night 171 on Wednesday night. It was pretty mediocre for us. We went 5 for 5, 500 on our picks. A couple guys just got caught, got a little lackluster. They did exactly what I thought they would do and what they needed to do in the first round. Got caught in the second and took the loss for us. It is what it is. It happens. Very exciting fight in the main event. Glover Teixeira got it done. Old Man River showed up again and did some serious damage to Anthony Smith. But I know he'll be back. And Glover Teixeira is making a title push again. So that's exciting for him. As always, give us a like and subscribe if it's your first time here. Share it with your friends. Help us build this channel. Let's get it going. If you want my personal bet slips, go ahead and follow at Cody Woodman on Twitter. You can see my personal bet slips. We had a good night on UFC 249. Wednesday wasn't so great. Hopefully we get it back tomorrow night with UFC 172, Fight Night 172. Overeem versus Harris. So with that, let's get into the picks, the predictions, the betting tips, everything you need to know to get you settled, to get you ready for tomorrow night's fights. All right, we got the first fight of the night, kicking it off in the heavyweight division. This one should be pretty fun, pretty big boys here going at it. For Rodrigo Nascimento, his stats, he's 7-0, about 6'3", 250. Trains at American Top Team, very good team. And then we got Don'Tale Mayes on the comeback, the King Kong. I think he goes by Lord Kong now, but either way, it's he's a big boy. He's a big guy, 6'6", 260, big kid. We'll start with Nascimento. Again, trains at American Top Team, so very good team. And Don'Tale Mayes is at Jacksonville. So two good teams, two big boys. This should be a fun fight. Both are Dana White Contender Series alum. Nascimento got it done against Michael Martinek, who actually is pretty solid, has a good record, but he was obviously pretty overmatched on the ground. It was hard for me to find much tape on Nascimento. I was only able to find that Dana White Contender Series fight, and it was pretty quick. Choked him out with an arm triangle in about 3 minutes or so. So kind of hard to get a ton of tape on him, but he's obviously a BJJ black belt. 5 submissions, 2 KOs, all stoppages on his record. Once he's been to the second round once, all first round stoppages except for the one there. So it's hard to find tape on him, but he should have a pretty big advantage on the mat. And considering how much taller Mayes is than him, he's not giving up any reach, really, which is crazy. So he's got an 80-inch reach himself, which is pretty crazy. But I mean, with being 6'6", he's way taller, longer. He will have a reach advantage. That people don't really see that, but that's a huge advantage. He will be longer. So it'll be interesting. And so we'll move to Don'Tale Mayes now. He had a phenomenal fight against Surreal Gain, who's very game. He's going to make some moves in the heavyweight division really quickly, and he was hanging in there with them. Mind you, it could have been stopped and maybe should have been stopped in the first round. Right at the end of the first round, he got dropped and then was getting pounded out, but Herb Dean let him get to the bell, made it to the third, and then he tapped him out with the heel hook right at the end of the third round. So he almost went the distance with Surreal Gain, who was like one of the best kickboxers in the heavyweight division right now. So very surprising. And he showed me a lot. Don'Tale Mayes. He was on Dana White's Contender Series 3 times, which is a record. Every season for the first 3 seasons, we saw Don'Tale Mayes on there, and he was really progressing. He really progressed every time. And then in the Gain fight, he's progressing quickly. 28 years old. He's still got tons of room in that heavyweight division. Again, like I said, trains with Jackson Wink, and from what I heard, he gets some help from John Jones, which makes a ton of sense, obviously. Yeah, for his second appearance there, I was not impressed at all. He was very lumbering. He did spill about 4 pints of blood from Mitchell Sipe, I believe is his name. It was pretty gross. If you want to see a bloody fight, he cut him up with a nice inside elbow and or a lead elbow, sorry, got in there and busted him up, and If it was any closer to his eye, that would have been stopped because of that cut. But it is what it is. He got the win either way. He's got a pretty good chin on him. He took some huge shots from Ciryl Gane and wore them pretty nicely. He took some massive body shots. If you want to hear the grossest sound, watch that fight and listen to the body shot he gives him. Again, like I'm saying, I think Nascimento's going to have a huge advantage on the ground. It might be a little difficult to take him down, but I don't think he's fought anybody at the level of Nascimento on the ground. So this is going to be a tough fight. So let's move to the betting lines here. It's an interesting line, almost a pick'em, basically a pick'em fight. I think the route to victory for Nascimento is to take him down and submit him. That's pretty obvious. I think it should be pretty basic game plan for him. Again, he trains at ATT, so he's in Florida. I don't think he's really doing much traveling. Not that Don'Tale Mayes is coming far from New Mexico, but if he's in New Mexico, but either way. So let's look at this. I don't mind looking at the total rounds. If you think it's going to be over quick. I mean, they both got finishes in the first round. Nascimento, all of his six of his 7 fights finished in the first round. So if you think he can finish it in the first round, Don'Tale Mayes certainly can with his power. That's not crazy. 2-1 for under 1.5 rounds. The heavyweight variance. I mean, that's not bad. I don't mind that. It's hard to take the over there just because they are heavyweights. They're big boys. They throw big leather, and they're very dangerous. So I don't mind the under 2-1. There's nothing wrong with that if you sprinkle that in a parlay. To go the distance, I'm not looking at that personally. I mean, 1.33 for not to go the distance. I'm probably not going to touch that whatsoever. Decision 6-1 plus on your money. Probably not looking at that. It's just too risky with these guys. Both of them are going to have experience in this atmosphere, especially Don'Tale Mayes with 3 times being on the Contender Series. He also fought Kamaru Usman's big brother and beat him in a decision. So there you go. There's a little tidbit about Don'Tale Mayes. Now for the finish, I mean, I might sprinkle something for Nascimento. Who am I picking? Let's do that. Who am I picking in this fight? Honestly, I'm going to pick for my pick Don'Tale Mayes. I think he's progressed a ton and super quickly. So if he can just avoid the ground and catch Nascimento, which I certainly think he can, I think he can pull out the win here. So I'm gonna pick Don'Tale Mayes. And if you know me and follow me, I may not bet on who I pick, or I might sprinkle both. I might hedge my bets. You know what I mean? So again, follow my personal Twitter to see my bet slips. But I'm picking Don'Tale Mayes. But I definitely like that 2.62 for a finish for Nascimento. I like that. I mean, 2-1 on the money line as well. You can't really go wrong. 2.4 for a KO for Mayes. If this goes to a decision, if it does, which I really don't think it does, but if it does, I could see Don'Tale Mayes kind of just outpoint him. If he can keep him at distance, and I'm sure John Jones has helped a ton with that sort of a game plan, then I think he can win a decision if it gets there. I'm not so sure it gets there, but either way, again, take a look at my bet slips if you need some advice on this one, but might not be the worst idea just to avoid this because there's a lot of variables here that just are hard to kind of predict. So yeah, sprinkle what you like. I'm picking Don'Tale Mayes. Next up, we head to the featherweight division. We've got a debuting Nate Landwehr, the Train versus Darren the Damage Elkins, Savvy Vet. We'll start with Nate Landwehr. He spent some time in M1 for the past about 2.5 years. He was the featherweight champ there, beat a bunch of Russians, which is hard to do, very hard to do. And he got the best of all of them. 2 decisions, 1 split, 1 unanimous. Both decisions were against the same fighter. I watched the second fight. And I mean, I don't mind him. There's no obvious reach or height advantage for either of these guys. I do think Elkins may be a little longer, but either way, watching Nate Landwehr, he kind of carries his hands a little low. He's very wild with his strikes. He's kind of heavy on his lead leg, very susceptible to lead legs and jabs. He's very, very hittable from what I could see, and got knocked out pretty quickly by Herbert Burns in his debut. He's a very hittable guy, especially for jabs and leg kicks. Sorry, leg kicks and jabs. I think will be very. I think they'll land for Elkins if that's the way he wants to play this fight. And then on the ground, I think Elkins is going to have a very big advantage as well. Yeah, Darren Elkins, he's very good everywhere, super experienced. He's got a great chin. If you watch the Mirsad Bektik fight, then you know what I'm talking about. He's been in there with the absolute best of the division. Last 3 fights, dude was on a 6-fight win streak, including Bektik, Dennis Bermudez, Michael Johnson, Chaz Skelly, that's a tough fight, and won 6 straight. And then since then, Ricardo Lamas knocked him out with elbows. I mean, Ricardo Lamas is still a very game opponent. Volkanovski, who's the champ right now, and Ryan Hall that nobody wants to fight. So those losses, there's nothing wrong with those losses. Those guys are all very, very game opponents. All those guys are better than anyone that Landwehr's fought. So I'm going with Elkins. I'm picking Darren Elkins, and I think this should be way more in his favor odds-wise. So I definitely like Elkins in the money line. It's almost a pick 'em, which is crazy to me. It's the second fight for Landwehr in the UFC, and he got KO'd pretty quick in his first fight. Not that extremely matters, but Herbert Burns isn't up there with any of the guys that Elkins has fought in his last probably 6 fights, to be honest with you. So I like Darren Elkins, and that money line bet isn't bad at all. I don't even mind Darren Elkins in the finish. 4 3/4, 4.75 to 1 on your money for a finish for Darren Elkins. I like that. I like that more than obviously the decision. The 2.62 in a decision for Elkins. Yeah, I could definitely go there. I'd rather take the money line than the decision bet for Elkins for sure. But I'm probably going to be sprinkling some of that finish money for Darren Elkins. I definitely like that number. And then Landwehr, I mean, with his wild strikes and everything, I just don't see him being able to catch Darren Elkins. And even if he does, I really don't think he's going to put him out. Like, he doesn't get knocked out. He's got a great chin on him. Very, very good chin. Way too experienced. I just don't see him catching him with any of those wild strikes, and I don't see him being able to grind out a decision. I really, really don't. So, to be honest, I'm probably not touching Landwehr at all. Landwehr at all. To go the distance or not, yeah, I mean, I don't love those numbers. I just don't love those numbers. I'm probably, and then the over-unders, I'm not a huge, there's nothing else that really pops out to me except for Elkins in the money line, and then a finish for Elkins, the 1.8 and the 4.75. I like both those numbers. I'll probably sprinkle both. And my pick is definitely Darren Elkins. All right, next up, we got the first women's fight of the evening. The cast iron Courtney Casey versus Mara Romero we'll go with. I got to be honest with you guys, not super excited for this one. It's a card filler, to be honest with you. Courtney Casey, she's been around a long time. She had a very long amateur career as well. Very experienced, trains at a great gym, MMA lab. 8-7 record. Nothing crazy to write home about here. Neither of these girls are anywhere near even thinking about challenging for a title. There's no rankings there. And then Mara Romero trains at American Top Team, so both very good camps. Height reach similar. I'm gonna go with Romero to win this fight. Their opponents are similar skill wise, and they're not beating them, so they're very similar to me. The real kicker here, the reason why I'm taking Romero, she's a 125. This fight is at flyweight, women's flyweight. So Courtney Casey's moving up. She's gonna theoretically be the smaller girl. I gotta go with Romero here. She is a little bit longer, bigger, should be stronger. Again, this doesn't really excite me, so I'm gonna go with Romero. The 3.5 to 1 on your money for a decision. I like that. I mean, if you're comfortable, I'm not touching this one. This is similar to the Eubanks and Morass fight that I didn't even touch, even though I was extremely confident in Eubanks. I just didn't even want to touch it. And the same thing with this. I'm probably going to avoid it. I mean, yeah, she's the underdog, but this is such a coin flip for me. Like, even though the odds don't really say it, it's such a coin flip for me. I mean, over under rounds aren't even, there's nothing there. To go the distance, there's nothing there. If the only real bet here is Romero by decision, and you're taking a lot of risk if you ask me, and I'm probably not taking that risk at all. My pick is Romero. Let's move on. Should be an okay fight. Let's see what happens. But my pick is Romero, and if I'm going to bet anything, it'll be the decision, but I'm probably avoiding it completely. So I think before this fight, we'll have the Giga Chikadze versus super late replacement Irwin Rivera. He had to have been there and on weight with the team. He's a Dominance MMA Ali Abdelaziz client. So he had to have been there with some teammates and on weight and ready just in case. So it's awesome, man. The best ability is availability sometimes, and he's making the most of his opportunity. So should be a fun fight. There wasn't time, and I just couldn't put it together this late to have that fight on the card, and there's not even a betting line on it. So it is what it is, but it should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm picking Giga Chikadze on that one. So that's my pick, but we'll move on. I'm picking him just because, yeah, late replacement. It's a coin flip. Yeah, that's who I'm picking. So moving on to this fight, we've got the immortal Matt Brown versus Caramel Thunder Miguel Baeza. Should be a really good fight. I mean, Matt Brown, we know who Matt Brown is. You know, he's very, very similar to Glover Teixeira with less wins and more losses, but Matt Brown is extremely game. There's a point in time where he was fighting for borderline title, number one contender for sure. And then obviously came up short against Robbie Lawler and Johnny Hendricks, and then Damian Maia, Jake Ellenberger, Donald Cerrone. And then he sat out about a year, came back and fought. He's sat out about a year, and then 2 years after that, and both of his kind of return fights were against some old grizzled vets, Diego Sanchez and Ben Saunders. He got the win in both of those by stoppage. So that's awesome. He's definitely by far the best and most experienced fighter Miguel Baeza has ever fought. He's literally seen everything. Nothing Baeza is going to do is going to surprise him. As far as height and reach, we're very similar. Both orthodox fighters. Very similar. They should be very, very similar, but the experience is definitely going to go to Matt Brown. Miguel Baeza fought in the Contender Series. He got a unanimous decision win over a super late replacement, Victor Reina, who came in super heavy, so he was quite a bit bigger than Baeza at that point, but he took the fight, I think, on like 10 days notice. And then Hector Aldana actually popped him a couple times, and I'm not sure if he dropped him, but he definitely stunned him in that fight. And Hector Aldana shouldn't be in the UFC, and he beat him with some vicious calf kicks. It was actually pretty nice. Couple vicious calf kicks. His leg was pretty chewed up. But these things it's just not gonna be that easy against Matt Brown. It's really not. So I'm picking Matt Brown. I'm picking the old vet to upset the young kid, undefeated record. He didn't really show me enough in that Contender Series fight. He really didn't show me enough. And then same with Aldana. That's not a quality opponent whatsoever. And outside of the leg kicks, he really just didn't show me enough to make me feel like he can just go out there and starch Matt Brown. That's the only route to victory that I can see for Baeza is if he just starches Matt Brown and just catches him with a big right hand. That's the only shot I give him, to be honest. So I really like Matt Brown in the money line, 2.5 to 1 on your money for Matt Brown. I think that's the easiest bet to make here. Yeah, I don't know. I think this should be way closer. I think this should be potentially a coin flip. Obviously, the odds makers are thinking that young kid, undefeated, some sort of phenom, but he just really didn't show me much to be nervous and to think that he's just going to go in there and wreck Matt Brown, who's extremely quality and is very game and has seen it all. And if you look at his losses, like, he's not losing to chumps either. So he's been in there with the best. I'm picking Matt Brown, and I'm probably going to sprinkle a little on the money line, 2.5 to 1 to go the distance. If you really like it, I mean, 2.262. I like it. I could definitely see this fight going the distance for sure. I could definitely see that happening. Over 1.5, I like that. Over 1.5, 1.72. I like that. Sprinkle that in a parlay. I'll probably be doing that. I like that a lot. That's a decent number for 1.5 rounds. So I think I'll take that. To go the distance, if I'm taking that over 1.5, I probably avoid the distance. And then I just take Matt Brown in the money line. This is probably where I go with this. Again, Baeza's only route to victory for me is if he just catches Matt Brown and starches him with the right hand, and then 2.2 to 1. I'm not taking those odds on that. I'm just not. So I don't see a ton of routes to victory for Baeza unless he's just like fantastic on the ground that I haven't been able to see. But he's got zero submissions. So unless he's just phenomenal on the ground that I don't know about, which is possible, I just don't see it happening. I see Matt Brown taking I actually see him probably taking him down and grinding out a victory either via decision or potentially getting a stoppage. But either way, I'm taking Matt Brown, money line, picking Matt Brown. I like the over 1.5. All right, moving on to the middleweight division, we've got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Kevin the Trailblazer Holland. This fight has fight of the night written all over it. I'm extremely excited to watch this one. It should be an absolute banger. Let's start with Fluffy, the Dana White Contender Series alum. He got popped for cannabis metabolites after his Dana White Contender Series fight that he finished Jordan Wright very quickly in the first round. So to me, that's a win. I got him, I guess, at 8-1 after that. But he had a pretty extensive amateur career, very very good, and very good record, 7-1 as an amateur. So he's more experienced than his record kind of shows. He hasn't really been super impressive since he's come to the UFC. That was a quick finish against a guy who, it was just a quick barrage, and he caught him early and knocked him out. Then he fights Marcus Perez in his debut, gets choked out via Anaconda in the second round. Then he fights Jun Young Park in his sophomore fight, and he Anaconda chokes Park for the win. So he's 1-1 in the UFC and got the win in the Dana White's Contender Series there. Young kid, pretty long, but not nearly as long as Kevin Holland. He's very much he moves forward. He has a reasonable chin. He's got some heavy hands, but he's a brawler. He's definitely a brawler. I don't really like, he's not very technical at all is what I'm getting at. I don't like his boxing. He really needs to clean that up. In the Marcus Perez fight that he lost, he had a broken leg, which is pretty crazy. He just thought his leg hurt. It turns out he had a broken friggin' leg and he's fighting with it, which is pretty crazy. So not, I guess, shocking that he took the loss. But against Park, it's not a quality opponent to me. And Marcus Perez isn't the most amazing opponent either. So taking a loss against him is definitely a blemish on his record. He's still super young. He's only 26 and he's got nowhere to go but up. So a lot of potential there. I'm not trying to hate on him or anything like that, but nothing really pops out to me on his record. Then we got Kevin Holland, super tall, long, lean guy, big time reach advantage. Plus he's taller and longer. Like that 6-inch reach advantage is going to look more like 8. So he should be able to beat Hernandez to the punch, I believe. And then if you go down his record, if you look at Kevin Holland's record, it's actually fantastic. 16-5, is what we got on his record. But all of his losses, Ramil Mustafayev trains with Khabib, 9-1. That's not a terrible loss right there. Then Rafael Lovato, who just beat Gegard Mousasi in Bellator. He's undefeated, lost to him. What are you going to do? He shouldn't have even been in with these guys. That was so early in his career. He shouldn't have even, he was not at their level at that time. He wasn't. And so he shouldn't have been in there with them. And of course he took the loss. So, there's no shame in those losses whatsoever. Beats Jeff Neal, which is an extremely good win. Beats Jeff Neal, loses to Curtis Melander, who's another UFC vet in LFA. Nothing wrong with that loss whatsoever. Goes on, and then Tuesday Night Contender Series gets a unanimous decision win. I don't remember that fight being super exciting, but I can't really recall, and I didn't watch it, to be honest with you. Then he takes a short notice fight against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, that is not a guy you really want to take on a short notice fight. He took him to the distance, ate some bombs, of course, from Thiago Santos. Takes this unanimous decision loss. Not a thing wrong with that loss. Short notice against a massive title contender. Yeah, can't say enough about that loss. That's a win for me. His stock skyrocketed after that fight. It was a fun fight to watch if you want to go check it out. Then he fights John Phillips. That was a good fight. Ended up finishing him in the third round via rear naked choke. Here's where I got a little frustrated with Kevin Holland. Against Gerald Meerschaert and Alessio Di Chirico, he just didn't seem to kind of let it go. And those fights I remember being pretty lackluster. He took a split decision win and a unanimous decision win in those fights, but I don't remember them being super exciting. I didn't watch them because I know I watched them live, and I remember not liking the fights and being super frustrated with Kevin Holland. And I probably bet money. Probably won. I probably might have lost because I probably took him to stop them, and it didn't even come close in those fights from what I recall. Then he fights another LFA vet, Brandon Allen, and man, Kevin Holland's just frustrating to me. He's a frustrating fighter because he has all the tools, everything you need. He cut up Brandon Allen early in that fight, and he was looking good, but he seems to just concede positions sometimes, especially on the ground. He's got decent wrestling, decent ground and pound. He's got a good chin. He's big, long. He's got a brilliant Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under a guy that Mike Goldberg called the Michael Jordan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Travis Lutter, which was ludicrous. And then yeah, he's just frustrating, man. He needs to get these finishes. He needs to have more of a killer instinct. It doesn't seem like he's out there to, kill or be killed, go. It's just frustrating to watch. It's really frustrating to watch because he's so talented, this kid. He's so talented. But he looks like he loves being in there and he's just having fun. He's always talking. And he's always apologizing to the guys and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good to be, a respectful fighter and everything like that. But man, get that killer instinct a little bit. And I think he'd be more successful. So either way, those are the fighters. I'm picking Kevin Holland to win this fight. I certainly am picking Kevin Holland to win this fight because all of his losses are against extremely game opponents and he wins everything else. I don't think Anthony Hernandez is up there with Brandon Allen, Thiago Santos, Curtis Melander, Lovato. He's not up there with these guys. So if those are the only guys that are beating Kevin Holland, I can't pick Anthony Hernandez to beat him. I just can't. So with the reach too, especially with how hittable Anthony Hernandez is, especially with that jab, if he just snaps out the jab, he can bust him up with that thing. So I hope that's what he does, keeps it on the outside. I know Hernandez is going to come in there and try to brawl with him. If he can try to avoid it, either way, I still think he catches him. I think a short elbow might be on the menu. I think an inside short elbow when he comes in and tries to clinch and he just pops him with one of those. I think that's going to maybe cut up Anthony Hernandez. For the betting lines, I don't see this. This shouldn't be a pick 'em to me. I think Kevin Holland should be the the favorite, and I will absolutely be taking 1.9. I'll be taking that money for sure. And then I think I'm gonna sprinkle something on a finish for Kevin Holland, because I think he absolutely can finish him, either on the feet or on the ground. I think he can finish him. So I'm definitely gonna sprinkle 4.33, probably in a light parlay with 2, 3, 4 max runners, something like that. That's good money right there, so I'll take it. Fight to go the distance, 2.1 for no. I'm probably just gonna take the stoppage for Holland instead of going there. And then the over under rounds, don't see a extreme ton of value there unless you see a super quick stoppage. Either way, I would just take the stoppage money over the round money. So I'd probably avoid that. How does Hernandez win this fight? I don't even see really too many ways, man, to be honest with you. I really don't see it unless he just wins a decision somehow. I just don't see it. All the money to me goes right to all the smart money goes to Holland, in my opinion. So that's my pick. I'm picking Kevin Holland, and the money line and the stoppage 4.33 money. I like that. So yeah, hopefully we can make some money on this one. Fight of the night contender number 2. We've got Song Yadong versus Marlon Vera. This is gonna be a banger. I cannot wait for this fight. This one's gonna be so good. This might be the people's main event right here. Either this one or another one coming up we'll talk about in a minute. But this is gonna be a really fun fight. This is at featherweight, not bantamweight. So this will be at 145, which is a little interesting. But Song Yadong, I think his first 2, I want to say, fights in the UFC. One was a short notice replacement fight. He replaced his teammate and then knocked out Kandare, Barat Kandare, or choked him out. He pretty much knocked him out and then finished him with the choke. That was a short notice fight. And then Felipe Arantes knocked him out with an elbow. I think that was at 145 as well. Then he dropped down to 135, which is where they both fight now. And they're both ranked at bantamweight, not featherweight, but the fight is happening at 145. Do I think that's a huge advantage for either one? Not extremely. They carry their weight differently. Considering their height is the same, it's very weird because they are very different body types. Song Yadong is jacked. Probably has like a 1% body fat. He is just jacked, cut, lean, looks great. Marlon Vera, longer, lankier, leaner, that kind of thing. So obviously he's got a bit of a reach advantage. That makes sense with their body types. So, man, I'll start with Song Yadong. This guy is so interesting, this kid. This kid literally lied about his age to fight people, grown men. I think he had his first fight when he was 15, I believe, 15 or 16. His first pro fight, 16 max. He had a few fights when he was 16. 3 when he was 16 years old. Jeez. That's crazy. That's crazy to be fighting grown men at 16 years old. And then he's sitting there at 17 and he fights a Chinese top team. Record sits at 20-4 right now. I'm not sure what he was at when they fought, obviously, but he does not shy away from competition. I'll tell you that. This kid's a phenom a little bit. So made his UFC debut at 19, short notice, gets a knockout win. This kid has some very clean boxing. Very, very clean. He's very light on his feet. Very good in and out. Very good at in and out. Get closing space and then getting out of danger, kind of a thing. He's just always on his toes. Very clean boxing. Really, really, really nice to watch. He's got heavy everything. Strong, heavy everything. Leg kicks, punches, everything. This kid throws like a truck. Oh, if you haven't seen any of his fights yet, go watch some of his fights, and you'll be impressed. I guarantee it. His last time out was against Cody Stamen, who he accidentally kneed in the head while he was down and lost a point in the first round. And then, if it wasn't for that, he would have won that fight. I had it scored the same way the judges did for the majority draw. I had him winning the first, which is 9-9, winning the second 10-9, and then losing the third 10-9, 28-28 draw. That's what happened. That's how I scored it. It was an okay fight. And then knocked out Alejandro Perez clean in his fight before that. A couple things about Song Yudong. One, he at 9 years old, he goes to live with the Shaolin monks in China voluntarily for years, a couple years. I don't know how many years, but a few years. He goes and lives with the Shaolin friggin' monks in China at 9. So he's got a kid. He's 22. He's not out there partying. This kid just wants to fight people, and I love it. I really like Song Yudong a lot. The most comparable opponent for me to Chito Vera was Vince Morales. That was a good fight. That's going to be kind of the blueprint for Chito, I think. At least it's the closest opponent that he's had to Chito Vera. And he won in a unanimous decision pretty handily. It was a unanimous, no questions asked about that fight. Trains with Uriah Faber, Team Alpha Male, which is probably the best camp that you could be at for this weight class. There's so many good guys at this weight, and just so many sparring partners and guys to roll with. He's just getting a wealth of knowledge for a kid that already has a ton. Man, I can't say enough about this kid. Win or lose, no matter what happens in this fight against Chito Vera, this kid has a serious future and is likely going to be a title holder very soon. He's going to be the next Chinese title holder with Weili Zhang. So, can't say enough about Song Yudong. Let's move over to Chito Vera, who I absolutely love as well. This guy is very similar to Song Yudong as far as career trajectory. Made his UFC debut at I believe 21, and he's done nothing but fight 3 times a year since. He's been in the UFC for 6 years. He probably fights 3-4 times a year every year. He's always ready, always fight ready. Eats well. He's got like 4 kids or something like that, so he's not out there partying or anything crazy like that. I can't say enough about Chito Vera either. His last loss in 2018, which doesn't seem that long ago, but he's also on a 5-fight win streak, so take that into account. Loses to Douglas Andrade. No shame in that whatsoever. He just rocked him a couple times. He just got the better of him. He just got the better of him in that fight, and I think Chito was really not happy about that one. The fight before that, he had a two fight kind of losing skid there. But the fight before that, John Lineker, who hits harder than most friggin' welterweights. And he took him to a decision. So, man, Chito Vera isn't getting stopped either. His 5 losses, all decisions. He's got a fantastic chin. Yeah, this is such a tough fight. For me, this should be way closer to a coin flip. So the only real issue that I have here with Chito Vera is he's from what I've seen, he's kind of given away rounds, especially to guys that are wrestling him. He lost the first round against Luigi Burin, lost the first round against Guido Canetti, and I think Nolan Hernandez, was pretty close in the first round as well. But and then Brad Pickett, who was one of the few people to beat Mighty Mouse. He probably lost the first 2 rounds before getting the finish in the third. So he's kind of given up rounds at some points. Bit of a slow starter, which concerns me a fair bit. Song Yudong, orthodox boxer. Chito Vera switches it up. I think he's got better straight boxing in his orthodox stance. He's got a much better jab. And I think his defense is better, but he fights mostly from a southpaw stance where he works kicks. Heavy on the kicks when he's in his southpaw stance there, which I absolutely see him fighting this fight mostly from the southpaw because southpaw orthodox, he can hit that high kick. but I'm not sure if he can do that to Song Yadong. He's so fast, man. He's so fast in and out, and he's got such good boxing. I'm not sure. I don't see Chito Vera just clean head kicking, Song Yadong and knocking him out. I'd be shocked, and it'd be cool. I mean, it'd be good. It'd be a fun fight, obviously. So this is so interesting, so tough to pick a winner in this one. I'm gonna pick Song Yadong to win this fight. That's my pick. As far as betting is concerned, I probably am just gonna take that 1.4 for the over 1.5 rounds. I don't really see either of these guys stopping each other. I see this going to a decision, so I might take the 1.83 for it to go to a decision. And then over 1.5 or 1.4. I don't mind that when you sprinkle in a parlay, maybe with the Kevin Holland stoppage. But yeah, 2.75 for Song Yadong for a decision win. I don't mind that either. If I get behind early in the card and I'm trying to make it back, I'd probably sprinkle that in somewhere. 1.57 for the money line. Nothing wrong with that at all either. I don't probably touch any stoppages, the 4-1 and then 3.2-1 on the stoppage for either guy. Probably don't touch that. Neither of them have been stopped as far as I can know. Song Yadong got stopped, I think, when he was early in his career, but the kid was like 19, 18 fighting a grown man. Nothing wrong with that. So man, this is a good fight. So my pick is Song Yadong. I gave you a couple options there for betting tips. I'm probably touching the fight. I'm probably going with the distance and over 1.5. I think I'll take the over 1.5, 1.4, throw it in a parlay, and hopefully make some money there. Next up, we got what might be a bit of a breather fight, in my opinion. Chaboy Eric Anders versus Christoph Jotko at 185 back down. Eric Anders has kind of bounced up and down between 205 and 185. I think 185 is where he should legitimately be. He's definitely going to be a bigger, stronger guy there than most middleweights. He should be bigger and stronger than Jotko in this one. So Eric Anders, southpaw. There's no difference here in height and reach, really. There's not much going on there. I'm not super concerned with it. Southpaw versus southpaw, which is interesting. He's Eric Anders, big athletic guy. Played football at Bama. Throws some heavy hooks, heavy left hooks. I'd like to see him work that straight left a little better than he does. He's not a super quick, twitchy striker. He's very calculated. I'm not sure I would say he's a lumbering brawler, but he picks his shots. He's not out there swinging for the fences like crazy. He's pretty hard to knock out. He's a big-headed guy. Pretty hard to KO. His one KO loss was to Thiago Santos with some elbows in at the very, very end of the third round, and it was a main event. So main event fight. So it was a 5-round fight. At the very end of the third, he cracked him with some elbows for the win. 2-fight win streak. Gerald Meerschaert, that was a close fight. I thought he won, so he got the win. And then Vinicius Moreira, who is god awful. He KO'd him in the first, which you have to, because that guy is terrible. Khalil Roundtree just outpointed him with his newfound Muay Thai style. Outpointed him for a decision win. Elias Theodoro, probably the most boring fighter in UFC history. He got cut on a win streak because he just doesn't really put on a show at all. He got the split decision win against Eric Anders. I remember watching. I did not watch that fight again. I'll never watch that fight again. But I remember being like, they should just give this to Eric Anders because, yeah. And then Thiago Santos and Machida are his losses. 5-0 as an amateur. A little more experience than you'd think. Beat Marcus Perez, Rafael Natal, Brendan Allen. Those are some game opponents that he got the wins against before taking a couple losses in the UFC. So that's Eric Anders. That's Eric Anders. We got Krzysztof Jotko, who for a bit there was looking like a serious threat at middleweight. He was on a 5-fight win streak back in 14 to 16, and then I think he had some health issues. He had supposedly he was on antibiotics against David Branch, and then had I think a broken hand when he fought Uriah Hall and Brad Tavares. Got knocked out by Hall and Tavares, but he had Hall rocked and looked like he was going to get the KO win against Uriah Hall. He just came back and caught him in the second round. Brad Tavares, I think, is super underrated, so that's not a terrible loss there to me at all. Bullied Alan Amedovsky. Bullied him for a decision win in his next fight after the Tavares fight, and then Marc-Andre Barrio, who's much bigger than him, which is this could be very similar to that fight, I think. Even though Anders is a southpaw and Barrio is orthodox, I could see this going very, very similar, where it's just a little boring, to be honest with you. Might be a little boring. A lot of grappling against the fence, I could see. And yeah, Barrio's a big guy, big middleweight, very similar to Eric Anders in my opinion. So as far as who I'm picking, I'm gonna pick Eric Anders. I'm gonna pick Eric Anders because I just think that he can. I think he might try to wrestle him. I think he might try to wrestle him. Krzysztof Jotko trains with the American Top Team, which is the better camp, to be honest. It's the better camp than Eric Anders. But I just think Eric Anders can bully him a little bit. I mean, unless Jotko can do what he did to Barrio and just kind of stay away, pick him, and kind of work the outside boxing and just kind of stay away and circle around him type of thing. Could happen. I don't really see this being the most exciting fight on the card. I really, really don't. I see this being a bit of a break between the Chito Vera, Yudong, and then the next fight, which is a banger, Ige and Barboza. But as far as the betting is concerned, I have already. I sprinkled Eric Anders into decision 5-1 on your money. I don't mind that. He goes to a fair amount of decisions, and so does Krzysztof Jotko. And I could see this being, like I said, a little bit boring, grappling on the fence, position type of game, head position, getting takedowns for Eric Anders. I could see him kind of just like two underhooks and just dragging him down kind of a thing. So that's my pick. I'm picking Eric Anders. The money line there, if you like him. If you like Jotko, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like him, I would take the decision money for Jotko if you're looking at sprinkling that in there. 2.37, I don't mind. 1.3 on the over 1.5. I don't mind that if you know you got like 6 runners or something in your parlay and you want to sprinkle something extra. I don't mind that because I don't think this gets stopped, especially not in the early, like the first round, unless someone just catches somebody, which could always happen, but I just don't see it. Yeah, I don't love this fight. I really don't love this fight as far as betting is concerned. I just like the 5-1 for Eric Anders. I don't know why he's such a dog in this, but either way, it is what it is. So there you go. There's my betting tips. And as far as my pick, I'm taking Chaboy. I'm taking Eric Anders to win this one. All right, fight of the night, contender number 3. This is a very good card, and this is going to be a banger of a fight. I can't wait for this one. It is going to take place at featherweight, so 145. This is Barboza moving down, making his debut. We got Dan Ige, 50K Ige versus Edson Jr. Barboza. This should be super, super, super fun. Fireworks. I absolutely love this fight. So we'll just look at the line right here. We got Barboza is easily going to be the bigger, taller, longer fighter. Maybe I shouldn't say bigger, but he's definitely the taller and longer fighter for sure. Obviously, his kicks are probably unmatched. It's like getting hit with a 2x4 out there. So let's take a look at Barboza. Last time out, absolute friggin' war with Paul Felder, of course, for the second time. Took the split decision, lost. Man, that could have went either way. I'm not going to say either guy won. It was so close. I don't disagree with Felder winning, and I wouldn't have disagreed if Barboza got the win. So, man, that was a crazy fight. Justin Gaethje knocks him out in the first round, man. Justin Gaethje, he's the interim champ right now, so no harm in that. He actually beat Dan Hooker in a stand-up battle, which was very good for him to win that, because Dan Hooker is very high up there as well as far as his stand-up game is concerned, and his kickboxing, Muay Thai skills. They're very, very similar, and he got the win, so that was a very big win. Kevin Lee, he got beat up in that fight, and obviously doctor stoppage due to a ridiculously gross cut. But he also landed a sick spinning heel kick and had Kevin Lee doing the chicken dance. There's a lot of awesome memes on that one. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you want to see a guy be knocked out on his feet for about 5 seconds and dance around, it was kind of funny. But there's nothing wrong with that loss whatsoever either, man. Kevin Lee is game, especially on the ground, and that's what he did. He pulled the Khabib, which we fought right before Kevin Lee, just took him down, bullied him, beat him up. I mean, that's how it goes. Barboza is extremely skilled on the feet and not so much on the ground. So route to victory is pretty obvious when you're fighting Edson Barboza, unless you're a guy like Gaethje, Felder, Dan Hooker, unless you can hang with him on the feet, which few can, but those guys can. So we know who he is, man. We know who Edson Barboza is. He's a fantastic fighter, trains at American Top Team now. I think he's back and forth. I think he lives in like Jersey or something like that. And I think he's kind of back and forth. But featherweight debut, which is interesting. We'll see what he can do there. Dan Ige works very closely. He's very high up in Dominance MMA. He's a fight manager as well with Ali Abdelaziz. So, but he's also an extremely game fighter, extremely game UFC fighter, and making a push. He's obviously ranked 15th right now at featherweight. Edson Barboza's ranked at lightweight at 155. So he's not. He obviously will jump right into the. Honestly, with this win, he might jump into the top 10 because of his name and who he is and what he's done at 155. But either way, we'll figure that out at the end of the fight. 5-fight win streak for Dan Ige. Fought a very close split decision win against Mirsad Bektik. I thought he won that fight, so he got the win. Good for him. Kevin Aguilar got the decision win there. Choked out Danny Henry very quickly. Jordan Griffin and Mike Santiago. He knocked out Mike Santiago super quick in the first round. I think that's where he took on the 50K nickname. Dana White Contender Series alum. Decent amateur record. So he's more experienced than his record shows. He's definitely a little more experienced than his record says he is. Trains at Extreme Couture in Vegas. This is going to be a good fight, man. This is going to be an awesome fight. So he's got heavy hands. Dan Ige, he busted up Kevin Aguilar with the first punch of the fight, who was 17-1 when they fought. So that's a big difference, and for him to take that and win decisively, that's pretty awesome. He's super well-rounded, pretty well-rounded everywhere, good wrestler, decent submissions. I think he's a very good counterpuncher. I think that could be somewhere that he might, a lot like Justin Gaethje, that might be where he catches Barboza. Very intelligent striker. He's not out there, especially when he gets a guy hurt. When he gets a guy hurt, he's hammering body, liver shots hard. And the way he punches from his hips. He punches from his hips and legs. That's where he's throwing heavy punches, for heavy hooks, especially to the body, just ripping them, which is awesome to see. Crisp, nice, crisp boxing. I really like it. Second round is going to be a very important round if it gets there for Dan Ige. He himself has said that he's given away the second round specifically, which he has. He lost the second versus Kevin Aguilar after certainly getting the first round win, and then again against Mirsad Bektik, who's a very good fighter. So it's not like, and so is Kevin Aguilar. So it's not like, he should have wrecked these guys, but he decisively wins the first and then kind of gives away the second, which he cannot do against a guy, especially like Edson Barboza, who can get beat up for 3 rounds, throw a spinning heel kick, and have you doing the chicken dance in the middle of the octagon. So you got to stay on your game. And I think he knows that. For sure he knows that. So Man, this is going to be so fun. This is going to be so fun. I see Dan Ige doing exactly what Kevin Lee and Khabib did to Barboza. I just see him easiest route to victory for him, take him down, pound him out, grind out either a decision or get the stoppage. I mean, the other option I see for Ige is if he catches him with a counter right, very heavy hands. So if he catches him with a counter right, or just times a kick from, which is hard to do because Barboza's kicks are lightning quick. So if he can catch him quick with a right hand and then just rain down some punches, I think he could get the stoppage. So that's what I think happens. Ige's tough, man. He's got a good chin. He's tough to just knock out, but I mean, Barboza could definitely do it. I'm picking Dan Ige to win. I'm picking Dan Ige to win this fight because I think that he can take him down and he can grind him out and he can pound him out, ground and pound, get the win. I think that that's the route to victory, the blueprint that's been shown time and time again from other fighters. And especially Khabib is very close. I know they're very close. He represents them. So yeah, he's going to have some insight, that's for sure. So that's what I see happening. That's my pick. My pick is Dan Ige. 2.1 on the money line. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But 5.5 to 1 on a stoppage. I'm looking there. I like that. This could certainly go to a decision. So you might just want to avoid the stoppage 5.5. If you're getting froggy like me and maybe you're up against the wall late in the card, 5.5 to 1 on your money for an Ige stoppage. I like that much more than I like the Barboza 3.1 on a stoppage. I do. I do. I do. Unless Barboza catches him with a knee when he comes in for a takedown or something. But man, I like Ige in this fight, and a lot of the money drifts that way for me. Even the betting rounds, I don't really love that 1.5. Over 1.5 rounds for 1.3. I don't love that. Going the distance, no. 2.1, sure. If you feel like if you're just going to take somebody stopping somebody, which is very possible, go ahead. But I'm probably taking money lines and money line in a stoppage. If you think Barboza gets this win, I'd probably look towards decision. Money line's good bet too if you like it, but for me the money drifts towards Dan Ige in what's going to be a super exciting fight. I'm taking a little bit on the money line, and I'll probably get a little froggy and take a stoppage for Ige for 5.5 to 1. Check my bet slips for those, but my pick ultimately, I'm picking Dan Ige. All right, second ladies fight. This is, I guess you call it the co-main event. This fight might get lost in the shuffle a little bit, but this is a very good fight. This is a very good fight, and I'm super excited about this one. I am. I don't know why Angie Hill isn't getting any respect with a number beside her name. She should be ranked, in my opinion. And the fact that she's getting this scrap against number 6 ranked Claudia Gadelha, who could challenge for the title pretty much like at any time. Obviously, she would need some more wins, but she's up there. She's definitely up there. She's fought for the title, I think, twice, and lost both times. So I think Angie Hill deserves a little more respect, especially from me, to be honest with you, because a couple years ago, I'll start with Angie Hill. A couple years ago, right after she lost to Randa Marcos, I was like, man, she's just not going to get there. She's just not going to get there, I don't think. Yeah, it kind of is what it is. She's going to be another one of the girls in the crowd kind of thing. That's how I honestly, that's how I felt about her at that time. And she has proven me wrong for sure. I regret that. I think I've bet against her a couple times. Maybe not. I think I avoided her, but man, she's improved a ton. She looks good. I definitely got way more respect for Angie Hill in these past couple years, and I think she deserves a number by her name regardless of this fight. So we'll start with Angie Hill. Again, body types. These are very different body types, even though the numbers don't really match up. They're very different body types. Claudia Gadelha is a little stockier, super jacked. And Angie Hill's leaner. She's going to be longer. I think that 1 inch reach advantage is going to be more like 3, something like that, with her legs. she's a little longer than Gadelha for sure. So Angie Hill's on a 3-fight win streak. At this weight class, a 3-fight win streak got Michelle Waterson a number 1 contender fight against Joanna, who she should not have been in that fight. She got wrecked against Joanna. I think Angie Hill has a better shot against Jacek than Michelle Waterson, to be honest with you. So 3-fight win streak, 2 stoppages. She busted up Carnellosi and cut her up with some disgusting elbows, just gross elbows, cut her up. And then Hannah Cyphers as well cut her up with dirty elbows as well. I gotta like that a lot. I love those short elbows, the short step in elbows. I think she could absolutely land one of those against Claudia Gadelha. Yeah, man, in her last 2 fights, she's changing girls' faces. Sorry, 2 of her last 3 fights, she's changing girls' faces for real. Like, that's pretty gnarly. She's fought a ton of girls, and yeah, man. Here's the thing about Angie Hill. The problem, the reason why I probably felt the way I did, and it was a little, I think it was definitely too harsh of me, is her first 3 losses were against Carla Esparza, Tisha Torres, and Rose Namajunas. She should not have even been there with those girls. Those girls were way more experienced, just on another level than Angie Hill at that point. So I think I was a little hard on her. And then her next, she goes back down to Invicta, wins the title, rattles off 4 straight wins, comes back to the UFC and gets fed to Jessica Andrade. Man, like, she's not getting any discounts over here. Fights Ashley Yoder, yeah, beats her, of course. And then Nina Ansarov, who was right there in the title mix as well. Nothing wrong with that loss either. The one that really stings, there's 2 losses on her record for me that really sting. Courtney Casey, split decision loss. I didn't watch the fight, but I probably watched it live, but I didn't go back and rewatch it. I definitely watched it live again, the Gaethje Vic card, but either way. And then Randa Marcos. I think the Randa Marcos fight really made her unhappy because she took a fight in a month after that, like literally 4 weeks after that, took another fight. I think she felt up against the wall, wasn't really happy with herself at all. And then, yeah, she's gone on a bit of a tear since then. Yeah, she lost to Zonan Yan, sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, lost her. Nothing wrong with that. That girl is a beast, and she's going to move up the rankings super quick. And then has rattled off 3 straight wins to get this fight against Claudia Gadelha. So, man, she's got great stand-up. She sees punches coming really well. She's got really good head movement, really good lateral movement. And those elbows in the kickboxing, man. This is a closer fight, in my opinion, than the line has it. But we'll move on to Claudia Gadelha. And man, number 1, Claudia Gadelha is my dream girl. Number 1. Number 2, her losses are to very good girls. Jacek, Joanna loses to her twice. I didn't go back and rewatch the first fight. A split decision, 3-round loss to JJ. I'm inclined to think that she won that fight, just going off of everything that I've heard in the stats. And I'm sure that I watched it live, but didn't want to go back and rewatch it. It was too long ago for me to want to go back and rewatch it. And then in the second fight, the 5-round title fight that they had, she absolutely won the first 2 rounds. Absolutely. And then just got picked apart after that. It went 10-9, 10-9 for Gadelha for me, and then Joanna just took over and won the last 3 rounds for the win. So she definitely did lose that fight. And then against Jessica Andrade, man, there's nothing wrong with losing to her. She was just the champ, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. The Nina Ansarov fight was really close. I feel like that maybe should have been a split decision. It was a lot closer. I wouldn't just call it a unanimous, that's for sure. It was a really close fight, but either way, she took the loss there. No harm. There's not a huge, that was when Nina Ansarov was at her absolute best. That was the best Nina Ansarov has ever been in her career, and she's a good fighter. So there's not a lot wrong with that loss to me. Comes back and beats Randa Marcos pretty handily. She got that win. So she's only losing to very quality opponents. This will be her second fight under Ricardo Almeida and Mark Henry, which should be really interesting. She said that she was fighting differently. She called herself a brawler before the Randa Marcos fight, and this one was a little more technical in her opinion. I can get behind that. Mark Henry's a very and Ricardo Almeida, but they're very, very, very good camp, very good gym. Here's where it gets interesting for me. So that Nina Ansaroff fight is the blueprint to beat Claudia Gadelha. So it's shocking to me that Ansaroff only had, I think it was like a half-inch reach advantage or something like that. But again, different body types, a lot longer, leaner, that kind of a thing. But she was able to pop that jab in there, all fight, pop it in there, which is exactly what Angie Hill can do. So we'll see. And the route to victory, so here we go. There's the route to victory. Route to victory for Angie Hill. Stay on the outside, pop, work that jab, hit some short elbows when you're coming in close, leg kicks, stay on the outside, pick her apart. Nina Ansaroff fight, blueprint, that's Angie Hill's route to victory, which is very, very possible. Claudia Gadelha's route to victory, take her down, grind her out, pound her out, ground and pound, wrestle, that's her route to victory. So who's going to be able to implement their game plan? That's the question. That is the ultimate question that you have to ask yourself. Who's more likely to be able to do that? Here's where it gets interesting again. Like, if you guys know me and you follow me, I may not bet on who I pick because the odds because the line is taking me that way. So I am picking, to win this fight, I'm picking Claudia Gadelha. I'm betting on Angie Hill. Yes. I'm betting on Angie Hill, even though I'm picking Claudia Gadelha. The numbers just aren't there for me for Claudia Gadelha. I'm not gonna throw this in every parlay I make or anything like that, but I'm definitely gonna sprinkle. I'm gonna definitely go with Angie Hill in a decision. 4-1 on my money for Angie Hill to win a decision. I'm taking that somewhere. Absolutely, I'm taking that somewhere. 1.47 on the money line for Claudia Gadelha, I don't love, because I know that, you know, a fight that goes the way that the Nina Ansaroff fight went, you know, like that is a very strong possibility in that happening in this fight. Very strong. So I'm probably avoiding everything and just going to enjoy watching the fight, except for Angie Hill in the decision. I'm sprinkling something on that, because 4-1 for Angie Hill to be able to just point fight her and pick her apart and stay on the outside and jab her, I'm taking those odds. I'm taking a shot at that. I am. My pick, Claudia Gadelha, but I'm going to be betting a little bit on Angie Hill. Hopefully you guys do what you need to do. Take my advice, don't, whatever it is, but this should be a fun fight. I'm super excited for this fight. This is a very good fight. Very underrated, I think. So this will be a good fight, and my pick, my ultimate pick, is Claudia Gadelha. Main event time, peeps. Main event time. This one, obviously, Walt Harris is coming in with an extremely heavy heart. If you want to look into what happened, go ahead. You got to feel for Walt Harris. It's going to be amazing to see him come back and compete at this level. And it's just, man, can't say enough about Walt Harris being able to, you know, get back to this point. And I wish him nothing but the absolute best. And I hope that he comes out of this and is able to move forward and get to where he needs to be. And I think he can, and I think he will. So with that being said, the big ticket, Walt Harris versus the Demolition Man, Alistair Overeem. We know exactly who Alistair Overeem is. He's one of the most experienced fighters in the UFC. He's been around forever. He was at one point probably the number one fighter in the world. We know who he is. That was also like pushing 20 years ago, but we know who. Maybe not. Maybe it's only about, when he beat Brock Lesnar, he was definitely up there, which was awesome. Which I love that. Either way, we know exactly who Alistair Overeem is, and he's way more well-rounded than people think. He's a lot better on the ground than people are giving him credit for. He was 5 seconds away from beating Rosenstruck. He was way ahead on the scorecard. Got caught and got his lip absolutely exploded. If you haven't seen that fight, I would suggest watching the entire fight, but if you want to see one of the grossest lip cuts you've ever seen in your life, check it out. It looks like someone took a machete to Alistair Overeem's mouth. Friggin' Joker style. So, good fight. But either way, lost to Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades before that. Not a darn thing wrong with that. And then Stipe Miocic before that. Nothing wrong with that. These guys are all three of those guys are title caliber fighters. One's obviously a champ right now. Ngannou lost to Stipe, but he's right there. Curtis Blades is right there. Nothing wrong with those losses. The Rosenstruck one is definitely going to hurt him because he's not up there with those guys, in my opinion. He's just not. Obviously, Ngannou knocked him out pretty quickly. So there you go. We know exactly what we're getting out of Alistair Overeem. He's orthodox, but can switch back and forth between stance. He's got heavy kicks, heavy hands, everything, and he's a lot more, he's a little underrated on the ground, so he's a lot better than you think. So let's move to Walt Harris. Walt Harris, his record's a little bit, I would say it's a little diluted, in the sense that, number one, he was beating Mark Godbeer. He was definitely winning that fight, and then I think he just had like a brain fart or something. I don't know what he was thinking. Supposedly he thought that the ref was going into, like, Godbeer was rocked and he was going in to potentially stop the fight or something. He hit him in the nuts, kicked him in the head illegally, and got DQ'd for a loss on his record. But he was absolutely winning that fight, and I think he would have won the fight. And I think it was just a brain fart or something. I'm not really sure what happened there, but so I would put that as a win. Fabrizio Verdum shouldn't have been in there with him at that point, and yeah, it was quick. Took him down, armbar, game over. Shamil Abdurakhimov, that's a tough fight for him that early in his career, considering the experience difference there. So that's a very tough fight. Took him to a decision, split decision loss. Nothing really wrong with that, especially with the difference in experience, like I said. And then Soa Palele, man, that guy was way better than people remember. Lost to him TKO in the second round. Soa Palele was a beast, man. He was a good fighter back in the day. And then lost to a very undersized Nikita Krylov at heavyweight. He weighed at like 218, I think. So interesting that he got, but I mean, Krylov is a very, very, very good fighter. But at heavyweight, I mean, that was, again, super early in his career. It was his second fight in the UFC. Jared Rushholt lost that fight, but man, he's still good, number one. But back then, he was very game. So nothing really wrong with his losses is what I'm getting at. Nothing at all wrong with his losses. And if he loses to Alistair Overeem, there's nothing wrong with that either. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with, very, very game fighter. He's a big athletic guy, which is pretty rare to find. He was a basketball player who had some NBA tryouts, actually. Decided to go down MMA, obviously, and here we are. Another reason why Walt Harris's record is diluted, because of the no contest that he had against Andrei Arlovski. That's another win that should be on his record. It was a win. It got moved to a no contest because he got popped by USADA for something, but it got reduced to 4 months. Like a 4-month slap on the wrist from USADA is obviously not a big deal. So it's almost like to me, it's like it didn't happen, but it was retroactive to before the fight against Arlovski. So we got that taken off his record. So we'll leave that there. But he's a big athletic guy. Believe it or not, he's a little taller than Alistair Overeem, which is crazy when he's a big boy, but he's more, in my opinion, he's going to be more athletic than Alistair Overeem. He should have good footwork. He's got a good style. I like his style for sure. His southpaw style. I think that he needs to pop that jab out there more. He needs to, considering his size and his length, the reach advantage to me isn't there against Alistair Overeem. I don't think that Alistair's going to have a reach advantage over Walt Harris. I don't. So, and in previous fights, from what I've seen, he needs to just pop that jab out more, work his boxing and pop. He's got a good straight left, a very good straight left, which I could potentially see him catching Overeem with, and then good hooks as well. His left hand is Left hand is his bread and butter for sure, but he needs to pop that jab out more, in my opinion. So we'll see if he does it. I doubt he will now. We'll see. I hope he does. Trains at American Top Team, very good gym. Alistair Overeem, he trains wherever he wants. I'm not even sure where he trains, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm pretty sure it's in the Netherlands somewhere. So how do I see this fight going down? Oh no, sorry, Elevation Fight Team. I should have known that. Elevation Fight Team in Denver, I believe. I should have known that. My apologies. But how do I see this fight going down? I, believe it or not, I could see Overeem taking Walt Harris down. I could see that happening. And I think that might honestly be, at this point, that might be a good move for Alistair Overeem to do. Because I think he's better on the ground than Walt Harris. He is. So that, I could see that happening, man. It's tough to take Walt Harris down, though. Walt Harris is very tough to take down. So I could see him just boxing him too, because he's, at one point, he was the best stand-up fighter at that weight class in the world, and even lower weight class when he was younger. So we'll see, but man, who wins this fight? All right, who wins this fight? I'm picking Walt Harris, man. I'm picking Walt Harris. I think he's gonna catch Overeem. I think he's gonna catch him on the chin. Overeem's been knocked out more than once, and I could absolutely see that happening, and that's what I'm picking. I'm picking Walt Harris to probably KO. I'm picking him to win via KO. I don't see this going the distance at all, and neither do the line makers, obviously. I mean, you could go with over 1.5 rounds, 1.66. if you really desire, but I'd probably avoid those round betting. I probably avoid that unless I'm going to take under 1.5 rounds, which I probably just avoid. I'm probably not really going to bet much on this fight, if I'm being honest with you. If Walt Harris was the underdog, absolutely, I would be all over it. And if the money for a knockout was better, I mean, 1.9, I mean, yeah, because that's his route to victory. So I'm taking a knockout before I'm taking the money line. I'll definitely tell you that. I'm not touching the 9-1 for a decision. I'm not touching the 6.5-1 for a decision. I'm just not. Even though Overeem and Rosenstruck went extremely late into the 5th round, I'm not touching it. And I'm just picking Walt Harris, man. I'm picking Walt Harris, and if I'm gonna bet, which I'm not gonna bet a ton, I'm probably going with Walt Harris 1.9 for the knockout, because that's his route to victory to me. So there you go. There you go. There's your UFC 172 Fight Night 172 picks. Let's hopefully make some money. Extremely excited tomorrow night. There's your picks. Let's go. Walt Harris in the main event. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I sincerely appreciate it. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, do me a big time favor. Hit that like, subscribe, share button. Share with your fight friends, anyone to get this channel some more momentum. We're gaining some steam, and it's time to hit that gas pedal. So help me out. It allows me to make more of these videos, so I really appreciate it. If you want to see my personal bet slips, go ahead and follow at Cody Woodman there. You can see my personal bet slips and help give you some tips to help hopefully make you guys some money. I'm hoping to make some money tomorrow night, so we'll see how it goes. As always, if you're afraid to be wrong, you'll never be right.